We're seeing something very interesting happening over the last 24 to 48 hours in the United States. On the one hand, you have Donald Trump and the administration and even many Republicans insisting everything must open. Disney World must open. Schools must open. And of course, it doesn't really make sense because if schools had to close when we had 100,000 active cases, it's not really following that it would be safe to then open the schools when we have 2 million active cases or close to it. But what's very interesting is that the country, fortunately, seems to be leaning in the direction of reality and scaling back plans to open rather than following the obvious lies of Donald Trump and opening more and more. And why would they follow Donald Trump? Over the last 48 hours, the Trump White House has released a list of things Dr. Anthony Fauci got wrong while Donald Trump was retweeting the conspiracy theories of former game show host Chuck Woolery. Governors and also many mayors, however, have to deal with the day-to-day of increasingly full ICUs, increasing hospitalization rates. The mayor of Houston, Texas, Sylvester Turner, who's a Democrat, is proposing a strict 2-week shutdown. Even the Republican governor in Texas, Greg Abbott, is talking about stricter guidelines. They've put in a mandatory mask order. In California, over the last 2 days, we've seen the Democratic governor, Gavin Newsom, say indoor restaurants have to close again, close wineries, close movie theaters, close zoos, museums. Certainly bars must close. Los Angeles and San Diego are saying we're not opening schools. The fall semester, the school year in the fall is going to start online only. Oregon has said once again, no gatherings of more than 10 people. Kentucky Fried Chicken, or I guess now it's just called KFC, they are telling franchises in a lot of these states, you've got to stop indoor dining. And this makes sense. And even the economic arguments fall short because the short-term benefit of opening things too quickly is going to backfire. It's going to evaporate, and you're going to end up with a much worse economic situation if you have a big relapse effect. And in the end, the long-term results are going to be based on flattening the curve in a serious manner. But that's not this administration's priority. Trump's priority is getting reelected in November. That's his gambit. His idea is anything I can do in the next 3.5 months that will make it seem as though life is returning to normal will benefit me politically. And that is the only thing that he cares about. Now, unfortunately, the timing hasn't worked out because instead of a nice gap now leading into the election with few cases and few deaths, we're seeing a massive resurgence, which shouldn't surprise us because when we got down to 20,000 cases a day, states went crazy reopening, and now we're seeing that resurgence. Now, I'm going to be totally upfront with you guys about something because this came up on the bonus show yesterday, sort of briefly, and people wrote to me and they said, David, we want to hear more about this. I know some people may be mad because not everybody's in a position to be able to do this because they have different types of jobs. Things are potentially going to get so bad here in the United States, and it's even going to bleed into Massachusetts. I am seriously looking at finding is it possible I could do the show from somewhere else in the fall where I could get a break from what's going on in the United States and just be somewhere else? And by that, I mean another country. Now, of course, the problem is Americans are banned from much of the world right now because it's so bad here. So I've not looked into it in a huge amount of detail. But would it be possible to put the mask on, take a coronavirus test, quarantine 14 days, and if I'm going to be, just buckling in and riding it out for 3 or 4 months, maybe that is something I would actually be interested in doing, because the reality is what it increasingly looks like is the best case. It takes 2 months for a lockdown to have a big impact. We saw it in New York. If Texas, Florida, et cetera, locked down today, we're looking at large case numbers at least until mid-September. They don't look like they want to do full lockdown. So we could be looking at this going well into the fall. If Joe Biden wins in November and we get the most optimistic timeline with an early use vaccine for healthcare workers at that point in time, optimistically, things aren't going to really dramatically improve until early 2021. That's just an unfortunate reality. Joe Biden will hopefully take over then. Treatments and vaccinations will hopefully start to become a reality. In the short term, hopefully we see governors and mayors do the right thing. But when you're seeing 5, 7, 10, 15,000 cases a day in some states, like we're seeing right now, the best case is you need months to come down from numbers that high. And I understand that I'm truly privileged to live in Massachusetts. I can't imagine what my friends in Florida, Arizona, California, Texas are going through right now. And it's going to remain incredibly ugly for a long time. If there's any good news, it's that some governors and mayors seem to be taking this seriously. Let me know what's going on in your city or state. I'm on Twitter at @dpakman, and remember to get the daily audio podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, wherever you prefer to listen to your podcasts.